We kick things off in the middle of the night as we see a giant mansion on high alert with lights flashing everywhere. Watching the commotion is a boy who is accompanied by a harem of cute girls. He notices that the scene is quite lively over here, and tells us that he has always wanted to be a hero. However, that's not how it turned out for him, as he is leading a phantom troupe filled with curvy babes. It's not a bad life, but we need some context, so it's time to dive into a flashback. We are now taken to half a year ago in a normal city in Japan. We see our hero coming back from a hectic day at work, and his face looks like he's just fought a war in Wartenia. He is so tired that he falls to his bed so that he can get some rest. But this is only a temporary fix, as he has to go through the same hassle again the next day, such as the life of a corporate slave. But he can't really do anything about it, as he has to get paid and earn his living. As he rests on his bed, the middle-class employee looks at an action figure in front of him and comments that he has always wanted to be a hero, just like the character he is looking at. However, he knows that such a dream is impossible, and he can only keep such thoughts as fantasies. He then raises his hand in the air and tells us that he has always wanted to help people, even when he was just a child. However, he can't really ask anyone if he's done well in that regard so far. After all, he is a loner with nowhere else to go. Suddenly, as his arm grows tired, he can sense something odd with his body as his vision becomes a bit blurry. He also drops his phone from his hand and is unable to gather any kind of strength. This is a very odd feeling, but before he knows it, our hero vanishes from his world and finds himself seated in a chair in an endless white space. As expected, he is shocked to find himself over here, and he looks around to see where he is. Our hero looks around for answers, but then he hears a voice calling out his name, which is revealed to be Asakawa Takeo, also known as Asa. He is shocked for a bit, so he looks around once again while confirming his name. It's a rather sudden moment for him, but he needs to get to the bottom of whatever is going on with him. He demands to know what this place is, so the voice gives him some pretty shocking news. As luck would have it, Asa has seemingly passed away in his original world and has found himself in the afterlife. No one likes to hear such a thing, and Asa is no different, as can be seen in the look on his face. He doesn't think he heard this correctly, so he calls out to the voice again, but that does not change anything at all. Asa feels sad for a bit, but then he realizes that he might have just hit the jackpot. After all, since he is here in the afterlife, it's possible that he could get reincarnated into another world where all his fantasies can finally come true. He asks the voice if he is correct, and he celebrates when the voice confirms it. The voice finds it surprising that people are quick to catch on to the fact that they are being reincarnated. But Asa has been waiting for this moment all his life. He loves reading reincarnation stories anyway, so this fits in perfectly with his fantasies. Our hero declares that he is going to get some cheat skills now, which means he can enjoy an invincible life. However, the voice tells him to calm down his hormones because he is not going to need any of those. Asa is a bit upset to hear this, because he does want to help people with his powers. The voice changes it up by saying Asa will be getting a service, so he becomes interested again. He is not given any explanation, but is rather told to proceed if he wants to carry on with his second life. Asa doesn't have any time to ask another question as he feels drowsy again and passes out onto the floor. With this, the reincarnation is now complete as Asa wakes up in a fresh body, looking much better than he did when he was a corporate slave. As a matter of fact, he is sitting on a bench inside a fantasy world where he is free to live in any manner he wants. Asa has a smile on his face as he realizes that he's actually living the same life he has been reading about in light novels and manga comics. He obviously finds all of this cool, so he checks out his reflection in the fountain to see that he is much younger than what he was back on Earth. This is only the beginning of our hero's new adventure, so he lets out some happy grunts to express his joy. He wonders what to do first, and that's when it strikes him that he should join the Adventurers Guild. He rushes to the guild because his excitement is through the roof, and he charges through the front door as if he is made to live as an adventurer. Things are already looking good for him as he finds a cute and curvy girl at the reception. She is a bit taken aback to see his energy, so she asks what he wants. Asa tells her that he wants to become an adventurer, so she asks him if he's joking. Something seems to be up with her attitude, so our hero is a bit confused as to why she's behaving this way. He takes a moment to recollect himself and confesses that he's new around here, so he doesn't know how to register himself. He asks if he's done something wrong, so the curvy babe asks him for the countryside he's come from. The girl is being sarcastic because all the adventurers in this town had lost their lives a long time ago, so for someone to come inside asking to register can only be a completely ignorant fool. Naturally, this is not good news for Asa, so he asks her about the monsters of this world. The answer she gives him isn't any better, as she reveals that all the beasts have also been taken care of. Asa doesn't want to give up just yet, so he asks the guild girl if there are any dungeons left in the city. She gives him yet another piece of bad news by explaining how the dungeons are now being administered by each of the governing nations. To put it simply, going on an adventure is more of a hobby now than anything else. Asa can't believe his ears, so he asks the babe why there's a guild in the first place. She says that it only exists as a museum. Otherwise, this is a very peaceful world. This revelation breaks our hero's heart, so he falls to the floor as his dreams of being a hero and enjoying romantic escapades with a harem of cute girls have been shattered. Of course, it would be great if every world was so peaceful, but Asa wants to rescue people, which is why he's so sad. The guild girl is shocked to see how upset he is over this, so she asks him where he's come from. Asa only says that he's traveled from a place that's very far away from here, so the babe feels sorry for him. She decides to entertain our hero for a bit, so she asks him if he would like to play a game before leaving. She takes out a small device and places it on the table, so it attracts Asa's attention. He seems to recognize this device as it is a gauge, which is used to measure magic in a person. The guild girl says that people used to make use of this device long ago when going on an adventure was still a thing. She goes on to explain to Asa that if he places both his hands in front of the magic device and chant, then the device will show him how talented he really is. Asa is asked if he would like to try it out, and he says yes in an instant. After all, it's the closest thing he has to his fantasy dreams right now. With that, our hero places hands in front of the magic gauge and hopes to see a lot of power lurking within him. He believes that he will be able to view his cheat powers through this device, but that doesn't seem to be the case as it does not react to him at all. The curvy babe is surprised to see this and comments that Asa doesn't seem to have any mana at all. This only makes things worse for our hero, because it's just bad news after more bad news. The guild girl decides to tease Asa, so she says that there will always be some people who show up without any talent at all. Our hero does not want to hear such things any longer, so he says goodbye and leaves the guild. After Asa makes a shameful exit, the curvy babe feels bad about what she's done because she was being a naughty girl with Asa. However, when she turns to take a look at the magic gauge, she notices that it has been destroyed due to an overdose of magic. This is shocking news for her. But Asa doesn't know anything about his secret powers, so he wanders aimlessly in the middle of the giant crowd outside. He doesn't know what to do next, and then he bumps into someone. He looks up to find an angry bald man along with his buddies who look just as grumpy as him. The bald man scolds our hero and tells him to watch where he's going. As expected, Asa says sorry and runs away like a scared chicken because he does not know he has the power to deal with these unruly goons. After making an escape, Asa figures that the first thing he needs to do is gather some money. He puts his hands in his pockets to check for any cash and notices that he has quite a few pouches inside them. Asa proceeds to check what's inside these pouches and is amazed to find all of them filled with coins. Our hero cannot believe his luck as he assesses how much cash he has with him inside an alley. It's also a bit surprising for him given that he did not feel anything inside his pockets until he had put his hands inside them. It's almost as if his pockets are like small wallets, and then he finds something else inside his pocket. It's a map, so he decides to check it out so that he can understand this town better. Asa now goes on a tour of the whole place, and he is shocked to see how big the town is. He comes across an alley and thinks that he will find something special if he crosses it. However, as he goes through it, he finds himself inside an area that's full of waste and stray animals. It's a rather dangerous atmosphere for Asa, but then he hears a voice calling out to him and also referring to him as Big Brother. Asa turns around to find a couple of siblings standing in front of him, and the both of them look like they could use some help. Our hero asks them what's up, so they say that they're hungry at the moment. The little boy's tummy starts to grumble, and Asa wants to help him out however he can. Asa promises to help them get some food, but when he turns around, he gets the shock of his life. He is asked if he wants to buy these two siblings as slaves, and it breaks his heart. Naturally, he does not want to do any such thing, so he runs away from them as soon as he can. Asa is clearly in distress as can be seen by the look on his face. He never thought he would come across such a sight, especially in a world where there is supposed to be peace and no monsters. As he looks around the town, he can see poverty and suffering everywhere, so something shady is clearly going on. Asa does not want to ignore these people, but he wonders what he can do to make things right for them. Our hero continues running and eventually finds himself in the dock area where there are tons of ships everywhere. This area is actually a bit fascinating because it looks more modern than what a fantasy world would usually be. He can even see street lamps next to him, which amazes him because none of these items are connected by any wires. That's rather odd, so Asa wonders if they are being powered by magic. This is an interesting thing to explore, but our hero does not have any time for that. He continues to walk up ahead and then he finds something that blows his mind away. It looks like a secret storage spot and it is guarded by men with proper guns. Asa can't believe his eyes because it looks like this fantasy world is divided into multiple sections. Of course, since he can see the weapons on those men, Asa wonders if this world is really as safe as the curvy babe had led him to believe. What really puzzles him is the warehouse in front of him, which looks like it's keeping some big secret locked inside. As Asa tries to figure how to go about this, he is found out by one of the guards of the warehouse. He is big and mean as he looks at our hero angrily and tells him to get away from here because this is no place for children. Asa tries to explain himself at first, but realizes that he shouldn't anger the guard any further, so he says sorry and runs away from the scene. Our hero hides behind one of the alleys and takes a moment to collect himself. Sadly, he is of no use in this world because he was not able to find any food, and he doesn't even have any way of giving his money to those in need. This is not the proudest moment for Asa as he decides to walk away from this mysterious area, but then he catches the smell of some food. This reminds him of the two siblings who are in need of nutrition. Asa senses that curry is being made, so he wonders if the person making it can share some with him. After all, he does want to do some good in the world, so he gathers his courage and turns around. Asa walks further ahead and comes back to the warehouse as the smell seems to be coming from its rear side. Our hero does not have any fear now because he wants to help the kids, so he decides to climb the wall and break into the area. He eventually manages to climb up the wall, and then he enters from the back door, only to find tons of cargo containers in front of him. It's rather odd that there are so many containers kept in the back side, so Asa wonders what's really going on over here. He decides to inspect the place a bit further, but can't find anyone around. The most important thing is that there are no scary guards anywhere, like the ones outside, so Asa can breathe a sigh of relief. However, after a little more scouting, he comes across a giant container which looks like a safe with chains all around it. Clearly, this has some top secret item inside it. But the weird thing is that the smell of curry is also coming from this container. Asa needs to get the food, but he realizes that there are tons of locks sealing whatever is inside this safe. It looks extremely secure, so our hero may not be able to open it after all this effort. However, when Asa inspects one of the locks, he's able to open it with ease. Naturally, this shocks our hero, but what's even funnier is that the lock triggers a domino effect and opens up all the other locks and chains around the safe. Asa can't believe his eyes as all the security around the safe collapses in front of his eyes, and all that he has to do is open the door of the safe. Our hero doesn't know what to expect from here, but he decides to venture in and find something he would have never expected to see. It's a cute girl tied up with restraints, and she is so curvy that the guild girl falls short in front of her body. This girl seems to be in pain as can be seen when she grunts and loses her balance. Asa rushes to her to make sure she doesn't hurt herself and asks the girl if she is alright. The pretty girl simply asks our hero if he was the one who had opened the safe, and he says yes. This pleases the curvy babe, so she thanks Asa for what he has done, although he has no idea how he managed to open the locks in the first place. His heroic moment doesn't last for long as he hears footsteps behind him and we see that the guards from outside have reached the safe. They have weapons in their hands and demand to know what Asa is doing here. Obviously, they lose their minds when they see that our hero was able to open the locks to the girl's safe, so they start to panic. It's an awkward moment for Asa, so he tries to explain how the locks just randomly opened when he got close to them. This is more than enough to scare the guards, so they raise their weapons and prepare to shoot at him. This is not a joke, so our hero fears for his life as he clearly did not expect his first day of reincarnation to turn out like this. In the middle of his panic, the cute girl comes close to him, so his intrusive thoughts start to power him up with motivation. Asa doesn't know what's going on or why he's in this situation in the first place, but what he does know is that he is a good man who wants to help others, even if his efforts might be in vain. He realizes that he should do his best to protect this girl from harm. He stands in front of the girl and is ready to take on all the bullets just to keep her safe. As he promises to protect her, she smiles and then the guards fire their bullets. Our hero braces for impact, but nothing seems to be happening to him. The guards are also confused because they can't see their weapons doing any damage. It's a rather awkward situation for everyone in the room, but then we see that Asa has just grabbed all the bullets with his hands as if they were toy pellets. The girl seems to have something to do with this, as we see her deadly eyes looking at our hero, who on the contrary, has a totally confused look on his face. The guards shout at Asa and ask him what he just did, but he doesn't have an answer for them. The guns don't seem to be working because Asa is simply taking the bullets without being harmed. Maybe he has some kind of super strength, but he still isn't sure why such things are happening to him. Anyway, at least he now knows that he can take on the guns and the guards, so he prepares to take them on in a battle. However, before things can become intense, the girl asks Asa why he isn't trying to leave. He doesn't understand what she's talking about, but then she unleashes her own powers and breaks free from her restraints. The girl reveals her true curviness and then proceeds to chant a spell which makes the guards panic, especially because she uses the word Silent Night. Something starts happening within the area, and the guards realize that she's using her powers now. Asa tries his best not to look at the girl's body, but there's only so much that he can do to fight his intrusive thoughts. Anyway, it's time to escape, so our hero takes the girl and rushes away from the scene. He finds a dead end in front of them and starts to panic, but the girl has a plan ready for this as well. She uses her powers and tells Asa to jump, after which our hero takes a giant leap of faith and reaches the skies. He is clearly shocked to see how he has so much power now, and then the girl asks him for his name. After Asa introduces himself, the girl also reveals her name to be Yu, but mentions that she used to be called Gomen, who used to be a famous thief in Japan. Anyway, Yu now tells Asa that they should go and steal all the treasures in the world. After escaping the guards in the warehouse, our hero and his new babe find their way to an inn, and we can see that Yu has finally put some clothes on now. She goes up to the owner of the inn and asks for a single room with a bath. Of course, asking for such a room can only mean one thing when a boy and a girl have come together, so Asa is a bit nervous. The inn owner just says that he does not want to get involved with anything shady, so he sends the couple to the second floor. He hands over the keys to Yu, who happily takes the keys and leads her savior to their room. Asa only panics some more when he sees that the room only has one bed, which means that he will have to sleep on it next to Yu. He asks the curvy babe what her intentions are and wants to know why she has brought him to this room. She simply says that she did not want to stand on the road and chat with him, so she wanted to get a room together. Basically, this is a safe place to hide from the goons outside, and you can discuss her plans with Asa in peace over here. It's a relief for our hero, who had thought that she wanted to do something shady with him. However, the curvy babe says that they should get in the bath now, which makes Asa nervous again. Yu simply says that there are things the both of them would like to ask each other, and this is the best way to do it. After all, they will be completely bare, so there will be no beating around the bush. Essentially, Yu wants this session to be like taking an oath, and she explains that neither one of them will be able to pull any pranks on each other as well. She proves this by showing Asa one of the money pouches in his pocket. Our hero is shocked to see how smoothly Yu was able to steal from him, so maybe her idea does make sense. Asa is a bit more agreeable now, but he still acts shy around Yu because he has never been with such a curvy girl before. She doesn't care for any of that, so she grabs our hero's robe and throws it away like it's nothing. As expected, this leads Asa to feel embarrassed, so he asks the thief girl why she's being like this. Yu is not in the mood to fool around, so she asks Asa if he wants her to take off his last piece of clothing as well. She looks like a thirsty demon, so our hero gets scared and runs into the bathroom to get the job done himself. Now, both Asa and Yu are in the bathroom, but our hero is still shy, so she tells him to call her casually and not formally. This eases his mind, so he tells the thief girl that she can also speak to him in a friendly manner. Asa confirms once again that Yu is indeed the thief he had learned about back when he was in Japan. It's easy for him to believe this without any proof because he saw how easily Yu was able to steal from his pockets. Yu asks Asa if he is surprised to find out that such a famous thief is a woman, and he wants to be honest, so he says yes. After all, Asa comes from an era where everyone wants to become a girl or is turned into one for no good reason, so he's fine with Yu being a curvy babe. The thief girl is surprised to hear such a lewd thing, so she asks Asa what kind of era he's from. Our hero gets a glimpse of heaven when Yu turns to him, so he acts shy and tells her that he is 400 years ahead of her era. The thief girl is shocked to learn such a thing, especially because the both of them have been reincarnated into the same world at the same time. This also makes Asa use his brains because up until now, he was just taking things as they came. He had readily accepted that Yu was from Japan and had also been reincarnated into this world as a girl. However, why has such a thing happened, and what has led the both of them to meet each other? Our hero now asks Yu how much she knows about this world, because he has just come here today. The thief girl explains that this is a world where the monsters that threatened humanity are now extinct, so there is no war. There are no disputes between nations as well, so there has been no development at all. Since there is no growth, the gap between the rich and the poor just continued to widen with each passing day. Yu confirms with Asa if he had seen this gap, and he says yes, but while looking away from her curvy body. Yu now explains that she wants to blow a hole in this world, which is why she wants him. Asa becomes shy, but Yu knows what she wants, and she can sense the possibilities that are growing inside him. Our hero's battle with his intrusive thoughts begins once again as Yu goes on to talk about his special powers. He was able to break locks that could not have been broken. He was able to take the full force of an army of bullets, and he sure has some kind of special power that he does not know about. All of this is odd to Asa because the voice from before never mentioned anything about any special powers to him. Yu explains that everyone who is reincarnated into this world has some kind of ability. However, Asa is still clueless and all he can do is look at his hand, which was just used to holding something shady most of the time back in Japan. That's when it strikes him that Yu also has an ability, which was why she was able to make everything go dark back in the warehouse. She agrees to this and goes on to say that everything in this world depends on magic. Asa finally gets some clarity as basic electronic items used to operate water, fire, or even generate electricity are all powered by magic. This explains the night lamps he had seen earlier next to the warehouse. Yu states that in this world, nothing can work without magic, even armor and weapons, which is why it's not like most of the fantasy worlds that Asa used to read about in his manga comics. The thief girl now confesses that she does not have any magic of her own, but she does have the ability to steal magic from her surroundings. This is why she calls her ultimate move the Silent Night. In other words, she can cut the lifeline of this world, and she makes an evil face while saying it. This makes Asa a bit nervous, but then Yu shows how she can transfer the magic that she's stolen from other sources. She places her hand on Asa and fills him up with magical power, so he feels full of vigor, just like when he was able to jump so high up in the sky. Yu explains that in this world, the people who have been reincarnated usually don't have much magic, so her skills are very useful in that regard. However, the thief girl notices something else full of vigor in our hero, and that's his little elephant. She comments on the state of his now elongated trunk, but Asa doesn't seem to get the reference. Anyway, Yu has now said everything that she knows about this world, so now it's Asa's turn to tell her what he knows. However, our hero doesn't really know anything about his own powers, so he tells Yu that might have something to do with thieving. That's more than enough to make the thief girl happy, so she tells Asa that they should join hands and steal all of this world's treasures. Of course, this sounds like a great plan, but Asa is hesitant to do such a thing because it feels wrong to him. After all, he wants to do good for the people, and being a thief doesn't help his cause. Yu tries to reason with Asa by saying he won't be able to get anything done in this world if he doesn't become a shady boy. Ethics don't exist in this world, and it leads our hero to think about the hungry siblings who had asked him for food. Yu tries to use another method to convince Asa to join her, but before they can act on their intrusive thoughts, someone breaks through the glass window and enters the bathroom. Asa panics and asks Yu to watch out as we see a curvy babe breaking into the scene. This girl is impressed with Yu for being able to escape the safe where she was being held captive. However, she will never be able to escape from her nose, and we can see that this girl likes to wear a pirate costume. She is quickly shocked to see both Yu and Asa in their bare states, and makes a funny face. The pirate girl begs the couple to put on some clothes because she can't bear to witness such a sight. Asa is surprised to see the pirate girl acting cute, but Yu asks him to put her down. Our hero becomes shy because he only did this as a reflex. Anyway, Yu gets a couple of towels for herself and Asa so that they can have a chat with the pirate girl. It's barely safe for her, but she allows the couple to continue this way. Now that the awkward silence is broken, the pirate girl states that she has come here to capture Yu for her crimes against the nation. She declares her name to be Francis Drake. And as expected, Asa is shocked to see yet another famous man being shown as a cute girl in this world. Drake feels that her name has spread far and wide, but Asa has other reasons for reacting this way. On top of this, Drake is a lot easier to accept as a cute girl than Gomen because of her outfit and girly behavior. Drake just realizes that she is talking to a boy, so she points her sword at Asa and asks him who he is. Our hero tries to think of a decent way to explain himself, but Yu spoils it for him by saying he's the one who helped her escape from the safe. This is not good news for Asa. And then Yu tells him that Drake is the same as them as she was also reincarnated from their world. She does not have any magic ability, so Yu can't use her powers on her. Since Drake was the one who captured Yu in the first place, there is no way for her to defeat the pirate girl. Yu acts cute and asks Asa to save her from this woman, so it makes him weak in the knees. Of course, she has such nice eyes that our hero can't help but give in to them. He also realizes that this is what he had come to do here in the first place. He wanted to be a hero all his life, and this is his time to shine. This is not the time to act like a coward, so he tells Drake that if she wants to capture Yu, then she will have to go through him. With that, he strikes a heroic pose and waits for the pirate girl to make her first move. Now that Asa has made his threat, he prepares to take on the pirate girl, who is impressed by his bravery and courage. She notes that our hero is trying to be used knight in shining armor, and she doesn't have any problem with it. However, this means that she won't hold back on her attacks and begins her charge. The pirate girl is quite fast, so Asa acts fast and dodges her by jumping away. He is glad to have been able to do this as he had gotten the magic transfer from Yu earlier. This would not have been possible if he was just standing there without any magic boost. Drake is pleased to see that her opponent has some fight in him, so she commends him and launches another attack. Asa prepares himself and dodges yet another strike with his temporary magic powers. Drake is definitely fast, but Asa notes that he can counter her attacks if she can only maintain this kind of speed. However, that's not the case, as Yu tells our hero that the pirate girl can go even faster than this. This is a cause for concern, so Asa prepares himself for round 2. Drake has had enough of fooling around, and she says that she doesn't have time for fun and games anymore. She declares her playtime to be over and walks towards the wall, which confuses Asa. That's when Drake reveals that she can walk on walls, and she approaches Asa by walking on the ceiling as if she's Spider-Man or something. Drake says that she's finally free and even gravity can't bind her any longer. She then proceeds to activate her super speed and starts moving around the room at an incredible pace. Asa braces himself for impact, but there's nothing he can do as he is unable to see where Drake is. All of a sudden, the pirate girl shows up out of nowhere and tells Asa that his playtime is over. She dodges him once again, and Asa is shown to be clueless at this point, so Drake moves ahead with Yu. She jumps on top of the thief girl and prepares to land a finisher move on her. Yu has nowhere to go, so Drake prepares to claim victory for herself. But then our hero steps in and says that she's not claiming anything while he's still here. Asa realizes that for him to be able to defeat Drake, he will need to stop her momentum, so he closes his fists and tries to control his special powers. To everyone's surprise, this move happens to work, as Drake is stopped right in her tracks. Now, Asa controls his powers some more and pushes Drake to land on the floor. Yu rushes to her hero boy and hides behind him for support, but the pirate girl is clueless as to what just happened to her. She wants to know what Asa just did, and he explains that he simply stole from her. Our hero feels triumphant as he feels like he has stolen Drake's powers. But when he opens up his fist, he finds a kitty in it which should ideally be somewhere else. This is an awkward moment for Asa as well as Drake, so Yu makes the most of this situation and laughs her heart out. This is a comedy of errors, and we see the pirate girl being embarrassed by what has just happened to her. Asa has no choice but to try and run away from the scene because he has just done something really shady. He says sorry for what he has done, but it's too late as the damage has already been done. Drake drops to the floor and screams in embarrassment because it's almost as if she's been violated. As expected, she is really angry now and she screams at Asa for doing such a horrible thing to her. Of course, our hero had no intention of doing this, so he tries to explain himself, but there is no point in using logic against an angry woman. The pirate girl prepares to take revenge for what has been done to her, but then something really odd happens. She feels some weird sensation in her body and laments that such a thing is happening at a time like this. It's almost as if Drake is being zapped by someone, so Asa and you are a bit confused by this sight. Our hero wants to know what's going on, so he tries to approach the pirate girl, but then Yu holds onto his arm. She says that they should run while they still can, especially with Drake in a submissive mode. However, Asa takes one look at the pirate girl and feels bad for her. Drake lands her sword on the floor and tries her best to get up, but she is unable to do so as she seems to be in a lot of pain. Asa is pained to see his enemy in such a state, but Yu tells him to hurry up, so he has no choice but to run away from the scene. With that, our hero and the thief girl quickly jump out of the hotel window and get dressed to avoid any suspicion. As they rush through the empty streets of the city, Asa asks Yu what happened with Drake back there. She simply says that it was a curse that comes with being the slave girl of a wealthy private army. Hearing this shocks our hero because he had no idea that Drake would be the slave girl of any other person. Yu stops running and turns back to tell her hero boy that the pirate girl was already a slave even before she caught her the first time. Asa feels bad upon hearing this, so he asks Yu why she didn't do anything with her power to help Drake. The thief girl says that she would have definitely done something if she had the ability to do something about the curse. Basically, it's a very powerful curse that runs through Drake's body, and the fact that the pirate girl kept saying she didn't have enough time just goes on to show how bad it is for her. Yu even says that the curse might be making her feel pain at regular intervals of time, which is why Drake was in such a hurry to catch them. As expected, Asa is ridden with sadness, and now it makes sense to him that Drake was talking about freedom when she was using her powers. When she said freedom above all else, she was referring to her curse, and Yu confirms what he's thinking by saying the pirate girl had her freedom taken away from her. This makes our hero upset, and he looks up to the night sky for some kind of relief. Asa tells Yu that he still hasn't given her his answer regarding joining forces to rob the world. The thief girl wonders what our hero is going to tell her, but he smoothly states that he's cool with becoming a thief like her. However, in exchange for joining her squad, he will get to decide the first thing that they will steal from the world. Yu looks at Asa with hopeful eyes and agrees to his condition. She asks him what he would like to steal, and Yu becomes passionate all of a sudden. That's when he declares that he wants to steal Drake from her army master in order to free her from the curse that plagues her curvy body. Now, we are shown a brief flashback scene where the couple is the bathtub and Asa asks Yu something about her time as Gomen. Our hero wants to know if she had used the Zentetsu sword back in the Japanese era where she was a man. Yu has no idea what he's talking about, so Asa figures that the story was nothing more than a big fat lie. He wants to know more, so he asks the thief girl if she used to utilize tobacco pipes and koban as weapons during her time. Once again, Yu is absolutely clueless, and she thinks that our hero has lost his mind. It turns out that someone is being a peeping Tom and sneakily watching Yu and Asa in the tub together. This is a cute girl with specs, and she assumes that Asa has been reincarnated from the year 2000 back on Earth. She then notices Drake on the prowl as she is looking for Yu in order to capture her. This specs girl now roots for Asa to come out on top if he is to fight against Drake because she wants to become his friend. Now, we get some context on why Asa was asking Yu such odd questions. It turns out that he was told that Gomen had used a special sword known as the Zentetsu blade, which was so strong that it could cut through bullets and weapons. On top of that, the tobacco pipe and koban were also famous tools from that era, but as expected, these were all stories made to entertain kids. Now, we move back to the present where we see the inside of a giant mansion. A shady man screams at Drake and kicks her down, probably because she has failed her mission to capture Yu. The angry man is also shown to be a bald and ugly man who lashes out at the pirate girl for not doing her job as his slave. Drake tries to explain herself, but the bald man notices that she is glaring at him. He shouts at her once again, so the pirate girl tries to keep her calm. The bald man now calls Drake a useless piece of garbage who can't use any magic. But even then, he decides to give her a second chance and orders the pirate girl to capture both Yu and Asa for him the next day. He reminds Drake that she owes him a huge debt because he had picked her up from somewhere not too long ago. The pirate girl tells us that she does not want to listen to this shady man's commands, but she has no choice because she is his slave. It's also very frustrating for a girl like Drake to have her freedom taken away from her in such a savage manner. She looks at the shiny moon, hoping for some kind of escape, and her prayers seem to be answered as the lights go off in an instant. The bald master panics because this seems to be a magic outage, and that can only mean one thing. Drake figures that Yu is in the area, but she can't quite understand why the thief girl has come here. Now, we shift to outside the mansion where we can see Yu using her powers to drain all the magic from the devices. She turns around and asks Asa if this is good, and he gives her a nod of approval. Now, our hero walks through the main gate and thinks out his battle plan. He's not going to stop until he knocks the enemy down from the front, so he apologizes to Yu for getting her involved in such a mess. She doesn't have a problem with it and wishes Asa all the best for his mission. Suddenly, a guard shows up out of nowhere and points his gun at the couple. This is obviously just him taking the bait, so Yu walks ahead and dares the guard to shoot at her. Asa is a bit concerned, but the thief girl knows that she can take the risk. The guard tries to shoot, but it's of no use as his gun is facing performance issues, even with a girl as curvy as Yu. She simply mocks the guard for being a disgrace to his manhood. But the truth of the matter is that she has drained all the magic from his gun, so it can't work anymore. Yu takes advantage of the man's general state of shock, so she uses one of her martial arts moves to attack him and pin him to the ground. Asa is quite impressed to see that the thief girl can also fight, but she simply gives him a simple piece of advice, which is to believe in himself. Basically, our hero should think of stealing as something that comes naturally to him. It should be the same as if he's breathing or walking because that's how he will be able to use his powers in the best possible way. Of course, this is Asa's first time doing such things, but the curvy babe tells him that he shouldn't worry because he's already shown her all that he can do. That's when he remembers how he rescued Yu earlier from the warehouse and realizes that he is a true hero. As Yu handles the guard on the ground, she tells Asa to go find his treasure as soon as possible. With that, our hero makes a move, even though a couple more men charge at Yu after seeing her with the guard. Asa doesn't worry much about her because he's seen how she can use her tricks to take down her opponents. Now, he rushes inside the mansion and looks around for Drake, but can't find her anywhere. As he continues with his search, our hero senses some kind of smell and turns to one of the souvenirs in the mansion. It smells like sweet strawberries. And then he finds a painting that smells like Mikan, even though it's a little faint. After some time, Asa gets the hang of it and figures that he's just smelling treasure around him. Using this logic, the tastiest one of them all is the smell of curry, which he had also gotten when he was rescuing Yu. It makes sense for cute and curvy girls to smell like delicious dishes. So our hero rushes to the room from where he is getting the smell of curry. He barges into the room, and just like that, we see him in front of the pirate girl and her bald master. The shady man asks our hero who he is, so he strikes a pose and states his given name. Of course, Drake recognizes him, so she remains cautious of what Asa is going to do. He says that he's here to take the most valuable thing from this mansion, so Drake readies her sword and asks him what he's plotting. Asa maintains that he's going to rob this place of its most valuable treasure, so the bald man loses his patience and barks his orders at Drake. He tells her to take care of Asa since he doesn't know his place over here. The pirate girl has no other choice, so she can't hold back against our hero either. With that, she activates her ultimate speed and starts jumping through various spots inside the room. As expected, Asa is not able to see where she is because of this speed. Now, the pirate girl unleashes her best moves as she strikes our hero, who barely manages to evade a direct hit. Even then, Drake lands some damage on him, as can be seen in the tears on his clothes and his hair. Things are not looking good for him as the battle becomes more intense. So Drake tells him that this is his chance to wave a white flag and give up. To her surprise, Asa only says that it's the same as before, which means that the pirate girl doesn't have much to offer in terms of variety. Drake is clueless, so Asa mocks her by saying she can't really give it her best when she's being made to follow orders like a slave girl. Our hero knows that his opponent can't get into the groove this way, and she can't even hit any of his vital points. This means that Drake's moves are just flashy and have no other value in the fight. Asa uses his brain some more and explains that in their last encounter, Drake had simply tried to confuse him and went for you right after so that she could capture her and be done with her mission. This means that she wanted to end the whole thing with minimum damage, implying that she's not a bad girl after all. Of course, this makes Drake worry, because our hero has hit the nail on the head with his assessment. The Bald Master doesn't like the sound of this either, so he demands to know if this is how the pirate girl has been carrying out her mission. Of course, Drake has to say that it's not the case. So the Bald Master orders her to do what she needs to do in order to end Asa. This is not what the pirate girl wants to hear, but she has no other choice, so she turns to our hero and asks him why he would do such a thing. It's an uncomfortable spot for Drake, but Asa simply tells her that she and he are thinking the exact same thing. His words make the pirate girl a bit wary because he's being a bit too confident with his assessments of her character. The Bald Master obviously doesn't have time for this, so he asks his slave girl what she's waiting for. He threatens her with more pain from the curse. So Drake has to stop fooling around now. She turns to Asa and charges at him while saying she can't really let him get out of here alive now. Our hero doesn't care about any of that and recalls what you had told him earlier about using his powers the same way as breathing and walking. He believes in himself and his abilities as Drake tries to unleash her finisher move on him. He clearly knows what she's aiming for, so he decides to focus his mind on it. Asa manages to place his hand on Drake's sword, and he smacks it away with ease because he was able to predict where it was going to land. The pirate girl is shocked by what she has seen, and Asa goes one step further by smacking her hand and releasing her sword from her grasp. Drake is in pain now as our hero simply looks at her with an alpha male expression. Of course, his main objective is to free Drake from her curse, so he decides to take a good look at her body. This is obviously not for him to cater to his intrusive thoughts, as he knows that the pirate girl will have some kind of mark or item on her body if she is actually afflicted with a curse. Now, he holds Drake close to her and says that it might just be his personal opinion, but he feels that pirates should always be free, especially if they are as cute and curvy as Drake. This makes her blush and she does not know how to respond to this statement. Now that Asa has made his intentions clear, he decides to go all in and release her from the curse that has been put on her. This involves pulling off her outfit, and Asa is able to do this with ease, probably because he's been wanting to do this for a while. The pirate girl is obviously embarrassed by this, so she hides her curvy body, but our hero inspects every inch of her skin in order to find the cursed mark. He obviously has to take care not to get too excited, but then he notices something on her neck and realizes that it must be a cursed item. He activates Ultra Mode and reaches out to the collar that is close to her twin peaks. Asa manages to get his hands on the collar, but Drake clearly thinks that he's lost his mind. However, once he touches the collar and the symbol on it, he gets shocked with a massive jolt of lightning. The pirate girl is still trying to figure out why he's behaving this way, and the ugly master takes his chance to laugh his bald head off. He calls Asa a fool for thinking that he was going to have an easy task ahead of him, because the collar around Drake's neck is not some simple item. The Bald Master does admit that he's surprised to see Asa being able to identify the collar, but his efforts will not be of any use because the symbol was crafted by the ancient enchanters who had a lot of magical power. Cutting off magic was never going to be effective against the collar, so the Bald Master wants to know what Asa was thinking would happen when he'd try to tear it off. He then goes on to explain that anyone who will try to remove the cursed item by force will meet his own end. That's just how the curse works, so the bald man feels very good about himself. Asa is going through a world of pain and he can feel his body going numb at the same time. At this rate, his whole body might just get ripped apart, so Drake begs him to let go. She can't bear to see our hero in this state, so she tries to push him away so that he can survive the attack. However, just as he is going to be taken off the shock, Asa stands his ground and holds Drake close to him. He says he's not going to let go till he frees her from this curse. So the pirate girl is at a loss for words. Of course, the Bald Master doesn't find this impressive at all, because he thinks that Asa is just trying to be a big hero or something. These words hit him hard, and he does admit that maybe he's just pretending to be someone he's not. However, he's always aspired to be a hero, even though he never knew how such a thing would ever happen. He might even be a fake at the end of the day. But the one thing he does know is that if he can make it through this task with his own method, and if he's able to endure the pain of the curse, then he will gladly make the sacrifice to become a hero, at least in front of Drake's eyes. The pirate girl blushes once again because she has never seen such a daring man in her whole life. He holds onto the collar and tries his best to fight the pain, but we don't know how long he'll be able to keep up with it. Drake shows concern, and her bald master taunts Asa by saying he's going to meet his end soon if he continues in this manner. However, our hero does not give up and unleashes his ultimate steel move to finally break the collar and free the pirate girl from her curse. He proudly holds the cursed collar in his hand and declares that his power has been activated. The pirate girl can't believe what she has just seen. And then Asa bends on his knee to take her hand like a gentleman. He states that he has found his treasure and obtained it as well, which means that he has won Drake as his grand prize. The bald master has now been reduced to a bald man as he no longer has any control over the pirate girl. He puts his hands on his bald head and screams that such an act is impossible to commit. While he cries in disbelief, Asa tells Drake that she is now free from the curse. It takes her a second to realize this, and then she shifts her attention to the bald man because she has revenge on her mind. The bald man is on the floor now, and Drake tells him it's time to pay for all the nonsense he's put her through. All it takes is one kick to the face and the loser Baldy is smacked away to the side. At this time, Yu comes to the scene and is glad to see that it is all over. She gives Drake her pirate outfit to wear, and then she asks Asa how his mission went. He feels that he has done a good job, so Yu suggests making a fancy exit. She wants all of them to strike a pose, so that it feels as if some burglars had come to the scene. Our hero doesn't get what she means, but then he decides to celebrate his victory by grabbing Drake and holding her in his arms. After all, he did say that he was going to take the most valuable item in this mansion. The bald man curses Asa, but it's of no use because he is simply a loser now. Now, Asa, Yu, and Drake talk to each other on the road, and the pirate girl asks our hero why he went through so much trouble just to save her. He simply says that he could not forgive the bald man for taking away her freedom, so Drake is surprised to see how caring he is. Asa goes on to say that he might be reckless in saying this, but during his era, pirates were considered to be cool, so to see Drake like this did not suit the brand image he had in mind. It was just a case of a boy wanting to make sure the right balance was in place. Drake is speechless yet again and she can't control the blushing on her cheeks. Yu agrees to what Asa is saying. And now that they're done with their chat, our hero tells the pirate girl that she is free to do as she pleases now. He leaves with Yu and tells Drake that they might meet again if they're lucky. Of course, the pirate girl is charmed by Asa and she will remember his name forever. Now, our hero thanks Yu for going along with his plan and admits to making her do whatever he wants. She is obviously fine with it because she made it a point to steal some treasures from the mansion as well. It's expected of a master thief girl to do such a thing, so Asa is not surprised. Our hero is also very tired because of all the pain he had to endure, and he trips over the ground, so he has to be held by Yu. She says that it's fine because a lot has happened today. And Asa agrees to it because even though it's his first day, he has rescued Yu and also Drake after a lot of effort. Yu tells our hero that they should take a day to rest and relax so that they can be ready for the next mission with all their energy. After a night of sleeping on the same bed, Asa feels very refreshed the next day, so he stretches his heart out. However, when he turns to the side, he notices that Drake is standing right there. It seems as though she has been waiting for Asa to step out. But Yu thinks that the pirate girl has come back to harass her again. Drake says that she only has business with Asa, so he wonders what it could be about. The pirate girl takes off her collar and shows it to our hero to confirm that the curse is indeed gone. She then uses this collar as proof of her vow, but Asa has no idea what she's talking about. The pirate girl goes on to say that she will now dedicate her life to Asa because he has saved her from her curse. Basically, she's as good as our hero's slave girl now, so he gets the shock of his life. This is all a bit too sudden, so Asa asks Drake if she's sure she wants to do this. The pirate girl says it's a very obvious choice because it's the least she can do for our hero after all that he has done for her. She does owe a huge debt to him, but Asa is not sure how to handle a slave girl, so he looks at Yu for advice. The thief girl asks him if he believes that Drake will live up to her promise, but the pirate girl takes offense to this and says that she always makes good on her words. It's a hilarious situation and Asa doesn't want to be involved in anything too drastic, so he agrees to take Drake into his team, which has now become a harem. He approves of the pirate girl joining him, and she bows down to him in servitude. She also starts to act cute in front of her hero boy and even calls him her husband now. Drake doesn't know how to read the room, so she goes on to declare how Asa was chasing after her with so much passion and has even seen her in a delicate state with his intrusive thoughts countless times. The other people in the area see this and are shocked to hear such lewd things. Of course, Asa is not as bad as what Drake might be implying, so he tells her to take care of her phrasing. Now, the pirate girl throws herself into Asa's arms and tells him that they will be together forever. She continues to call him her husband, so our hero looks to Yu for support. Normally, one would expect the other girl of a harem to show jealousy or something like that, but Yu is nothing like a typical cute girl. The curvy babe also throws herself into Asa's arms and hugs him the same way as Drake, which leads to an awkward pose and a lot of intrusive thoughts. This is clearly a good problem to have. And then Yu reveals to our hero that he has already seen her bare without any clothes countless times as well. As a matter of fact, they have been in the bath together, so it only makes sense for her to call him her husband as well. A normal boy would probably put his shady intentions to use right away, but Asa simply worries about what he's going to do now. This is a good question, because there are no monsters in this world, so the only thing that he can do is spend time with his harem girls and probably engage in unspeakable acts with them. Will our hero live the fantasy life that he had always dreamed of? Who else can he save, now that he has already rescued a thief girl and a pirate girl? Will he try to collect more cute girls to join his harem? Like, share, and subscribe to find out in the next video. Hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload part 2. See you soon.